Hello Troglodyte Tribe and welcome back. This week we're going to be looking at 6 different ways of playing the minor chord. So the minor chord has got 3 notes in it. If you know your major scale, it's the 1, it's a flat 3, and then a 5. There are different ways to play the same 3 notes in loads of different ways across the neck, but I'm going to just look at the 6 ways that I sort of approach to start with. But again, there are so many different ways. All of these examples are going to be in root position, which basically means that the lowest note that I play is going to be the root note. The examples I'm going to use are going to be A, so it's going to be A minor chords. So the lowest note I play is going to be A. I've done a free downloadable PDF of the examples that I'm doing today. They're on my website. The link is in the description. Let's have a quick look at one of the chord shapes and see why I've done it this way. You'll notice that it's got 3 colours on it. The red colour is for the root note. So in this example, the red will be the A. Then you'll see the blue. The blue means it's the flattened third, so that's the minor third. And you'll see that is actually going to be C in this example. So every time there's a flattened third, you'll see a blue. And the green, that's the 5th. In these examples, that'll be the E note. It's really useful to understand where your 3rd and 5th falls within the chord, because it does have a big difference on how that chord will sound, whether the 3rd is really close to the root or whether the 3rd is much further away from the root. There's a massive difference to the sound that it gives. So yeah, and it's really useful for learning the fretboard and relationships all the way across. You'll also see that there is a number within each colour, and that actually represents which finger to use. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 obviously. I'm going to have 2 examples where the root note is on the low E string, 2 examples where the root note is on the A string, and 2 examples where the root note is on the D string. So I tend to do it that the first chord shape on that string will work down the fretboard. So the first example goes from the root note down, and then the second example will go from the root note up, and that just gives you sort of lots of flexibility as you move up and down the neck. If you find these videos useful, please just give it a thumbs up, as it helps other people find the video. Position 1 of the minor chord. Okay, so I'm going to go with the root note on the low E string. In this example, it's an A minor chord we're playing. So little finger on the A note, which is the 5th fret on the E string. And with your second finger, you're coming across to the C note, which is on the A string 3rd fret. And then with your first finger, come across to the 2nd fret on the D string. And then if you can, try and play the 2nd fret on the G string, because that's the octave. Now you'll notice that the notes A, C and E, your 1st, your flat 3rd and your 5th, are all within the same octave. It's what I would call a closed chord. So they're actually all within the octave together, very much like how a piano player would do it, and that has a very sort of close sound. Quite moody. Well, incredibly moody actually. So let's have a look at example number 2. This time we're going to go with the root note on the low E string again, but this time working up the fretboard. So we're using our first finger on the 5th fret on the low E string, and then with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret on the A string. So that's moving from the root to the 5th, which is why it's in green. Now with your little finger, we're going on the 7th fret on the D string, and that's your octave, which is why it's in red again, because that's another A note. And now we're going to this blue note. This is the 3rd, the flattened 3rd. So this is actually going to be played by your first finger still. If you bar the whole of the 5th fret, you're pulling out that C note on the G string. And if you keep doing that, keep barring all the way, you get another 5th, and then you get another octave. So position 1 again, we're going from the root note on the E string downwards. And then position 2 is going from the root note on the E string going upwards. And you can hear they've got very, very different sounds. Let's have a look at position number 3. Number 3 is where your root position is on the A string. And we're going to start with the root on the A string and then working down. So moving up to the 12th fret, little finger on the A. That's your root. And now we're going to go with our second finger on the 10th fret on the D string. And that's our minor third. And now we want to, with our first finger, play the 9th fret on the G string, and that's our 5th. There you go, a nice closed chord. And if you can, bring your 3rd finger across to the 10th fret on the B string, and then you get another octave. So that's a lovely chord. Position number 4, where we stay on the A string as the root, but we work up the neck. This time it's going to be first finger on the 12th fret on the A string. Now we're going to jump straight to the 5th, which is why it's in green, and we're going to use our 3rd finger on the D string on the 14th fret. And now we're going to go to the octave, which is why it's in red. We're going to go with our little finger on the 14th fret on the G string. And now we get to the minor third. So we're going to use our 2nd finger on the 13th fret. There we go. And then if you can, bar the whole bar chord and bring in that top E note as well, which is another 5th. So to recap, this is position number 3 with our root on the A string moving down the neck. And position number 4 is the root on the A string but moving up the neck. Again, you can hear very, very different sounds for the same chord. Let's have a look at position number 5. So position number 5, we're going to move our root note to start on the D strings, which means we're not going to play the E and the A string at all through these examples. This example is we're doing A minor, so we find the A note on the D string, which is on the 7th fret. Then we're going to go to its 3rd. So we're going to use our 1st finger to actually bar the rest of bar 5. So that's its root, its 3rd, its 5th, and the octave. Example number 6 is where we start on the root on the D string, but moving up the neck. Now this one's a little bit of a stretch, but I do like the sound of it. So we're going to go with our root, which is our 1st finger on this example of A minor. We're going 1st finger on the D string on the 7th fret. Then we're going to jump to the 5th in green. So that's our 3rd finger on the G string on the 9th fret. Then bring your little finger all the way out to the B string on fret 10. And now it's time to bring in that 3rd in blue, which is going to be our 2nd finger on the 8th fret on the top E. So just to recap, position number 5, which is D string as the root moving down. And then position number 6 is D string with the root moving up. And you can hear a very different sound between the two. If you're interested in chords, I can recommend a book. I was fortunate enough to get this book by Ted Green called Chord Chemistry when I was younger, and it's just absolutely brilliant. It is chocker full of examples, but more importantly, it explains why chords are the way they are and how they're built, and so you can start to really build your own and know where to use substitutes, and it's just a very good book. I have put a link in the description below. So how is this useful? Well, apart from getting to really understand the fretboard and where things are, it's just nice to keep things interesting. So if I was just to sit on a sort of A minor for a little while, I could play around with the different positions. So that's just playing around with the same 3 notes in different places across the neck, just because I know the 6 shapes. I hope you found this useful. If you have, just give it a like, and that helps other people find this video as well. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.